I think we should be live. We are on Twitter at least.
Nice. Okay, let me share this, post this. Hello.
I just checked that audio is working.
Yes. Okay, cool. I have
I think audio is
YouTube.
fine, which is surprising.
Yeah. Everything is working. Yeah, I see YouTube chat. I see the things that I think I'm supposed to see at least. So let's get into things. Hello, guys, and welcome to another weekly stream with Runner. As always, we are going to be talking about some things for the next hour or so. Streams are sponsored by BonkBot. If you like the content, if you want to show support, show some love, you can use the link that I just posted into the chat. You will see it on both YouTube and Twitter right now. So if you want to show us some support, you can make a new account on BonkBot. You can trade there. Obviously, we are going to get some kickback from that. But yeah, so thank you, BonkBot, for sponsoring the stream. Let's talk about market. So finally, we had pretty exciting few days.
Can we just make a deal that we don't talk about TradFi macro this week, please?
Okay, sure. I don't exactly remember what was the day when we streamed last. I think it's like a Monday something last week. But yeah, Bitcoin went up. We spoke about kind of the fact it's looking pretty good on the higher time frame. I had a decent long, which I was able to not paper hand for once, and I closed biggest portion of it, around 94. Now still, but I got a little more long yesterday as well, so I still have kind of a exposure to the upside. I think Bitcoin is looking pretty good. We are obviously coming to resistance, or we are at resistance, which is this kind of a March 2nd Trump post kind of a candle, which basically retested that kind of a range, a low, that breakdown level, or whatever you want to call it. My kind of a idea of this and why I am still long is mostly because nothing looks like it's too exhausted. Obviously, we piled in with a bunch of open interest, which is kind of a understandable. When you have a move like this, I think we are up 30% from the lows. So obviously, a lot of people are buying. When it comes to open interest for me, I think it was that I haven't looked super close on lower time frames, but I do believe that the funding was negative a lot during this move. Runner might actually correct me here if that's really the case, but I saw kind of a funding sliding into the negative parts, which made me believe there is also, which is more kind of a healthy for the moves like these. And yeah, nothing stuff that I look at, nothing looks too insanely, overheated. Runner is now showing the velo. We had decent kind of a collapse in the open interest, even from the highs. Market is basically higher, yet the open interest is lower there. So there's a little bit of this divergence. Like I said, it's for me at least, it still looks like it has some room to go a little bit higher. I'm not saying it's going to go to the all-time highs, but maybe kind of squeeze about 100k, and we will see from there. And I know that you said that we are not going to be talking about TradFi, but TradFi, I think, is also having a little bit of this recovery. Although yesterday there were some earnings, which made kind of a stocks a little bit. I think Google did really well yesterday. Uh, so there was a little bit of a strength coming into that. Didn't move BTC that much, which is pretty interesting. Like S&P as well had a on Thursday, which was yesterday. We had pretty big day up. Yet Bitcoin was kind of not really. Like considering like usually when you have this kind of a correlated markets and then you have these dynamics where when the when one market is selling down and the kind of a second one is showing this relative strength, which we had with BTC, that basically BTC kind of held the prices and then went up. Like what you usually tend to see is that when the in this case S&P would kind of push to the upside and had a really good day, Bitcoin would see even more upside because all the correlations and all of that. Yesterday, I feel like it was a little bit different, which was a little bit surprising to me. To be quite fair, since S&P did really well yesterday, Bitcoin kind of went sideways for most of the day. But yeah, there is a mention of the ETF buyers, which is, to be fair, probably the only signal for me right now, which I would consider to be a possible top. If you are unaware, those of you that are unaware, basically, if you look, you can go to CoinGlass. You
I
can,
have everything here.
yeah. If you go to the CoinGlass and you see kind of aggregated ETF net flows, I'm sure a bunch of websites show that, but I like to use CoinGlass or even Ibit just by itself. It's the one which has the most volume. But if you look at the aggregated kind of ETF flows, and when you had like you can look basically all the way to last January, which is basically when the ETF started trading, there was only one case where you had actually large inflows and market kind of continued to go higher, which was the day of election last year. But other than that, every time you have, significant inflows and also outflows, we can kind of it's kind of up to you how would you quantify that. Like you can use just some standard deviations or whatever, or just draw lines on the chart that would kind of work as well. But if you have any kind of very large inflows and outflows in a single day, and you obviously open crypto Twitter, you see people just screaming that we are going much higher, and this is basically where the tops tend to happen. So yeah, that's my kind of only warning sign at the moment for the possible top. We are at resistance, we are at mid-range. From my point of view, I had this kind of a main long idea. I spoke about this. It took quite a while. Basically, I was kind of trying to get long since middle of the March. I was chopped out a little bit, but then got the long at around 80k at the beginning of the month. Held it to what I perceive to be pretty strong level. Obviously, move from 80k to 95 is pretty significant. So right now, I'm just kind of playing with a smaller size to see if this actually has some legs or not. But yeah, BTC, I would say that it done pretty well, all things considered, in the last month or so. Obviously, if you look at like a weekly time frame or monthly time frame, I think weekly is probably the kind of the cleanest one here, that we are still kind of underside retesting this structure here. So there's the possibility that it's just going to die down, but that's probably for another time, because at the moment I don't really have a bias, to be quite honest. And if so, like I still feel like there is a slightly more upside to the prices that we have right now. So yeah, I will let the runner talk, because that's probably it for me.
I do agree with everything. Beautiful move, I think. A few things that you mentioned. we had a little last few days. We had this past few days we had interesting. Remember, just a few days ago, we were correlated to gold. We were digital gold, but then gold nuked and Bitcoin mooned. So we're back to leveraged Nasdaq territory. But what I think is interesting since yesterday is, as you mentioned, basically stocks kind of weak, Bitcoin up quite a lot, which I'm not sure. I've seen a lot of decoupling talk. I just think I will not talk about macro and TradFi, I promise. I just think everything that is happening in the world is just benefiting Bitcoin and getting more. My mic is fucked again, huh? People say.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too low. I also hear you a little bit too low. And people already also say that you you sound like a robot as well,
Okay,
which I don't hear, to be fair. Yeah, so let's wait for another two. Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting in my personal opinion, or like what I would love to hear, because obviously correlation.
Test.
I don't know. I still hear you fine. So like, if someone is saying that your microphone sucks, you should probably play out the stream in like a that thing, because I can hear you fine. But people say it's better, and just get it a little louder. Should be all right.
Okay, I'll try again. Just making sure people don't die by listening to my disgusting voice. Just if somebody could be very quickly, like 30% better. Hell yeah.
I can hear you fine, so it's hard for me to say anything.
Like 30% better. I don't know if it's like.
I think it's fine. We should just
I'll try.
go with it.
I've done what I done last time to fix. So I fully agree with you. I think there's maybe potential a bit of decoupling, and I think it's simply caused by ETFs and Sailor, frankly, which is not I'm not calling tops, I'm not calling bottoms. I'm just, I think, sounds normal now. Whee! Let's go. This has been some of the best weeks for Bitcoin spot ETFs. I know people got tired of it, but I genuinely believe the entire November move to all the way to January, or sorry, like December, the whole election was basically Sailor buying nonstop and ETFs buying nonstop. And I guess I would describe it or simplify it as having these two modes, right? Like, are these strong forces, if you will, buying? And even though I'm like, people think I'm perma-bear, like I would be very, very stupid to short into, against Sailor and ETFs. They just, whenever they're around, they go, right? We have that now. I do believe Sailor will announce a massive buy, we'll know on Sunday. So yeah, ETFs and Sailor buying. Bitcoin is at mid-range. I do fully agree with you there. For me, that's like 96K area. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I've been just taking profits on positions I had, which is apparently illegal, and you get hit with sidelined and shit. But I had a really good month actually of trading, so I'm very, very satisfied. And I guess the most meat of my talk today will be around Trump trade. But yes, for Bitcoin looks good. Would not short. I think what we could focus on now with Bitcoin is, I've gotten a lot of DMs. It's basically, oh shit, I'm afraid I missed the upside. What do I do now? How would you? Is there anything? I know you TP'd, I TP'd too, even though I TP'd lower. What would you? What is are there levels? Or is there something you wanna?
Yeah, like I said, I still get a little bit of a long exposure. I think I would cut that like under the 91K. If we start the trade underneath that, I will probably get rid of the long that I have. Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit I think kind of where there is a how to say, like a limitation in price action in some sort of sense, because obviously if we would start sell down from now, that's obviously kind of a failure at the range low or whatever type of situation. But if we gonna go down all the way to like 85K, basically to that kind of a consolidation, when we basically the range low, right? but what you have drawn somewhere around that. Like, is that place to buy? Is that not place to buy? It's it's extremely hard to say right now. Obviously, the way that I trade, it's more kind of a situational to what is actually happening when prices at the levels that are kind of interesting. So for me, like I said, I look at these kind of a how order books are positioned. Some options flow. We spoke about the ETFs a little bit. Right now, I don't really see clear sell signals, so I'm just kind of staying in long, trying to see if this has actually some momentum to continue to the upside. If we would come down to 85K, let's say, to this kind of a breakout point where we started from, I would be definitely interested to look for longs, but once again, I would need to see those kind of a thicker EMAs that you have there are I think pretty good level. I would be interested in longs, but I would once again need to see the stuff that I kind of always look at. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know. Like I see, it's so kind of funny. Like people always love to make these like big predictions and what market is going to do and like looking months into advance. And even though I swing trade, these days basically the long which I had, the biggest one, I held it for it's like 13 days or something. Yeah, I got long basically on April 10th. But I still feel like it's just like very hard to predict something which is like super far away, and you are most likely just like betting into like obviously like I had for example, like I had a long idea because Bitcoin was showing all this relative strength, all of these indicators that I'm looking at were kind of pointing to the upside as well, but I have like no idea how much this price is going to go, right? Like it's like you can never really say that. Like I had no idea this is going to go to 95K, and who knows if this is going to continue or not, or if this is basically the top. I just know that market is the place basically where I have some kind of edge, and taking a position here basically makes sense for the things that I look at. But I never know how far things are basically going to go, and that's something that I don't really care about because I just kind of manage the trade that I'm in, and once it kind of stops making sense to be long, I just close it. So it's very tough to make like very very long term and big predictions, but definitely from like a level price action point of view, if we're gonna come back to those range lows to that 80K area, I think it would be pretty good spot to buy at the time. So yeah, and I would like, for example, one thing I would love to see, and this is once again like super into kind of a astrology prediction type of things, is like if Bitcoin would go down to 85K, I would likely like to see like S&P and equities basically making new lows. So you would once again have this kind of like a divergence strength type of situation, because I still do believe that like like the stock market goes up type of situation. So like the further down it goes, like if the S&P starts to go again under 5K or whatever, then I think that like buying still like a long term is a probably smarter thing to do than being super perma bear pessimistic. So yeah, just like some examples of what I would like to look at, but I personally feel like just like longer that I trade, I don't really care that much, because I know that the ability to predict something like this is just very tough.
Yeah, I think I like 85, 87, maybe even more aggressive than you, like 88.
Yeah.
Because by the time it gets there, these moving averages will go up to, I think that is, I want to be very careful with my language here, but I think I don't really swing trade. But if I was to get like a best swing trade idea, I think you buy the range low and you target at least the midpoint, which is all things considered a very large move. That's like a
So
10% move. It's a lot for BTC.
all in at 87K.
Yeah,
Target.
no stop loss 100x.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I think it's pretty good looking overall, and I think altcoins also have been doing quite well, which the favorite altcoin haters, but I think there is a bunch of things that is looking not that bad. I was actually trying to buy Solana. I know that you mentioned that you were in some longs. I tried to get long Sol a little later after I got long BTC. I think it was like a middle of March. I had some orders at like sub 120. I never got the entry, but Sol actually moved quite a bit, looking pretty good as well, I think.
It has a lot of the things that were bearish for Sol are now bullish, because what I mean by that is the unlock thingy. I mean, it had a lot of unlocks. I don't want to open my bookmarks here, but basically there's a few more like early May, but then basically it's almost fully done, which is hilariously good, right? Like you have it behind us. You could argue the people did not sell, blah blah blah, but the unlocked narrative definitely played out with the overall altcoin weakness, and I think it's still, as we can see, even if you look at the top gainers today on Binance, even though a lot of them are like obscure scams, most of them are still Solana ecosystem. So you have that.
Yeah.
Basically, good Solana for those who think I'm bear posting again.
Yeah, no, I mean, Sol is looking pretty good. I posted this chart, which I kind of found pretty interesting yesterday, of Sol BTC comparing to ETH BTC from like a June 2022. I'm not like a big person in fractals at all, basically, but yeah, I think there was this time in 2022 when ETH had like this big sell-off. I can remember that, and there was this news back then, which made pretty decent recovery. I think Solana is in interesting spot that I would say that if market is not going to die completely, obviously, then I think Sol is still probably one of the kind of a best and most liquid bets that you can take. I know that like I think because obviously people mentioning a lot like if the on-chain stuff when it's gonna come back and what would be the catalyst and all of that. I think like simple things such as price going up can be
Yes.
decent catalyst for a lot of these things. Like you don't really need to have something that insane happening, and so yeah, I'm still big fan of when I at least when I look at altcoins, I preferably look at Sol as this kind of a layer one play, rather than ETH, which yeah,
I'm not opening a chart of ETH
it's
until.
up, but it's up the yeah.
What stood out to me is, I think it's still an honorable mention, even though people hate it, is Bitcoin dominance. It's still like just like even okay. Let me explain what I mean by this. Just on like Sol BTC chart is down. I know people will be like, oh, just 2%, you retard, but it's down 2%, and Bitcoin dominance obviously inversely correlated. It's for me pretty tough to be betting against Bitcoin. Again, with the catalyst we mentioned, we have Michael Saylor buying. We have. Did you see the new, what is it called, 42 or 21 thing
Yeah. I saw that.
from Paolo? So you have all these fucking rich people saying "fuck you," buying more, and obviously,
Yeah, no, I mean, my point of view on all of this, and I think, we spoke about this many times, and especially you did get a lot of hate from people on Twitter constantly for shit talking altcoins mostly. But in my opinion, and obviously, I think we can kind of all agree that, all this cycle, whatever you want to, call that, basically, what I would kind of say which started at the beginning of last year, which is basically when the ETS launched. All of this was very heavily driven by Bitcoin. I don't think there was a much of a time during all of this when altcoin would like heavily outperform. I might be wrong, but I don't think it really happened that much in the last year and a half, basically almost. So obviously everything is very much driven by Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still getting the main kind of a set of eyes, but at the same time, obviously, I think Solana had a very decent kind of a narrative on its own with all of the on-chain stuff. And I think if you are bullish BTC, which it's not that hard in the current environment, I think still obviously BTC dominance look aside and all of that, like Sol is up what
50%.
60% from the lows. So like you can take obviously this is a very liquid trade. This is not like some insane shitcoin. So you can take very nicely sized bet. You can spread it into BTC Sol whatever. But I think it's good to kind of not ignoring this completely. Although like Sol BTC might still underperform or whatever, but you will still get this kind of a higher percentage move, and obviously Solana got a lot of beating. You mentioned all the unlocks. I think we just came into we hit that $100 mark as well, which is like a very big psychological number. Like a lot of people just were like, I'm going to buy at $100 or whatever, because that's what people do, rounding the numbers and everything. So yeah, I think Sol is very good thing to look at, and very good kind of a it can basically come back. We can come back with the on-chain stuff. I think if Solana would, and this is just like a very big prediction once again, but like if market would really continue to do well, I think Sol kind of a good performance might also bring more volume into the CME futures, and we would get all the new kind of participants coming into that as well. So yeah, I think Solana is definitely one of those, probably one of the very few coins to really worth paying attention to into the.
Oh no, 1000%. And my boomer S, it's actually my favorite altcoin to trade still. One layer one that I think deserves an honorable mention, even though we don't trade it nor care about it, but is Sui. I'm not sure.
I actually saw that. I actually wanted to ask you if, like why it ran so much. I saw a lot of people obviously posting about it on a timeline. But yeah, the chart is looking pretty sick, and it was very clean trade. I didn't take it because it's yeah. Is there any kind of a particular reason for this to happen, or is it just flavor of the month type of situation?
More buyers than sellers. No, look, I've seen a ETF from ETF filing, but I think the ETF news are no longer kind of actionable, if you will. Meaning, the Canary, you've seen the Canary company. What is the name? Canary Island.
Yeah. No, I mean, like Sui did very well obviously last year. I think it was one of the best performers when it comes to the later ones. But yeah, I didn't really pay attention to the move, and like if you once again if you look at
this is pretty
price
insane.
chart, you look like a weekly, you look like a daily, it's like a cleanest support and resistance type of retest. But once again, like I'm pretty sure most of the coins at the same time looked very similar, and Sui was, but it can like with altcoins, it can truly be as simple as just momentum and people just seeing it go up, start to pile in, because this had like an insane day even on 23rd, which is last Tuesday. Sorry, this Tuesday. So yeah, it really can be just as simple as it's best performer. Everyone saw it on the spaghetti charts. They started to pile in, and yeah, worked out quite well. So
yeah, I still do. Do you have any thoughts? I've seen a lot of people mention that Solana is last cycle's Ethereum, and Sui, whatever. Sorry, is this cycle Solana, and I mean it trades as such at least.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't feel like I know enough. I think you probably need to like if you only look from like attention of people point of view is probably possible, but I don't know. I just like to really not try to put too much, all these theories and everything into what I do, obviously. So yeah, it's just it is what it is, I guess.
But yeah, I wanted to, people say I only shit on things. I wanted to shout out in a positive light, because some of these things like Alpaca, let's not even waste the time and energy. But this pumped 120%, and it's still like $15 million market cap. That's kind of, I don't think it's fair to compare it to Sui, which is like a fucking 20 bill FDV. Yeah, different categories.
The market is pricing in the optimistic resolution of the trade war, but it's probably still this year, and the ETFs are not gonna hold. Yeah, that's probably way outside of my daily dose of macro LARPing. To be quite fair, to try to answer that, I don't know. Like you saw, like I think the whole trade war, and we are not going to be spending too much time on it, but I think this whole thing is just such a mess. To be quite honest, just stopped paying attention pretty early on because it's just like Trump is truly like insane in terms that just like yesterday we had that kind of a talks between China. Then China says they are not. It's like there is like this very unique thing about the United States where everything kind of turns into reality show pretty quickly. You saw it with elections. Now we are kind of seeing it with the trade wars as well. It's just getting like sillier and sillier
Yeah.
every day passes basically. So I don't know. I think similar to like obviously if the trade war is resolved, that's going to be like a big up candle, whatever. But you are going to have a lot of kind of news in the meantime, which are going to affect the prices. I just don't really pay attention to at this point because I think the longer it takes, the less important it's going to be. So then you are just going to kind of wait for this like a big one resolution, which I have no idea when it's going to come. So yeah.
I do low key hope we can move past that a little bit. It is truly very tiresome.
Yeah.
It's no longer
But
fun.
I think it's like similar to like I don't know like for example this Bitcoin relative outperformance, like it was basically a meme for like a month. But then it's just like I don't know, like when BTC basically, because like the S&P started to selling off quite strongly basically at the end of February, I think at least, and Bitcoin was holding quite well, so this started obviously. Most people had just like a huge PTSD at that point, so it's just like like you can kind of see that at the beginning it was like 100% decided that the Bitcoin strength is just very short term, it's going to dump basically day after or something like that, which to be quite fair I also uh, was more kind of a leaning towards at the beginning, but then you kind of see this basically proceed, and like eventually you just don't really care because like Bitcoin starts to look good and you just start longing it because obviously you start to see whatever market trading above SR levels and moving averages or whatnot. But I still saw so many people even at like beginning of February where things really started to look pretty good, and I think that there was this news on the 9th of April, which I don't even remember what it was now, where basically people are still in this like a this is just going to be a fade, this is not going to go up, it's going to go up a little bit. So yeah, I think with a lot of news and like a lot of this kind of a view people tend to hold in the market, I think it's very easy to get kind of stuck in one side basically. So yeah, and I think this is now what we see a lot of people with tariffs as well. It's just like market is never going to go up until all this tariff talk is resolved. But to be fair, I just would much rather trade the what I see in the things that I look at than trying to predict how Trump is going to sleep today and what is going to tweet next, because it's very unpredictable in my opinion.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that Bitcoin and like crypto natives and whatever you want to call them, us, they just said fuck all this bullshit, just. And it's when you really think about it, it doesn't take that much capital to move it around. But yeah. I just want to make a disclaimer that in few weeks we will not stream because we were both flying to Washington DC for a Trump dinner.
Yeah. You traded that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that is my coin to trade, and it doesn't even cost that much money to go, which is hilarious.
Yeah. No, I saw the news about the dinner and everything. Yeah, this is like very much something that I would pay attention to or care about. I think I wouldn't really trade uh, the coin itself,
I think it
but
was
yeah.
the
So
easiest trade of like maybe month.
yeah, like a lower time frame short, basically, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah.
But I still think this does end up in tears for Trump holders. But it actually to kind of maybe talk a little bit on something we don't really talk. I know you don't do this, but I still think that is the single most profitable trading strategy, which is news trading. Um, I know you recently tweeted about the burnout of being in front of computer all day every day, but I still think for people who are just kind of getting into the trading game and might not have the biggest stack, I think news trading is your best bet
Yeah,
to make
that's
it.
like for sure. Like if you are building an account, you definitely want to be, more glued into the screen and doing all this type of low time frame stuff. Like this is first kind of like a properly sized Bitcoin long, which I had basically since we kind of sold down, so since like end of February basically. So yeah, like you definitely want to be doing this type of stuff rather than being old like me and just waiting.
And I just want to showcase like how much time people say, oh, news trading, and it is. Bought it. I'm not saying it's easy. You're competing against the biggest artists out there, but few times a year, and we had actually a bunch of these recently. One of them being the Cardano, Solana, XRP ETF, Strategic Reserve. Then the mantra trade, and now this, all in span of like 4 weeks, which is I think a lot of trades. But you could have longed this minutes later and still catch like a 30-40% move on the long side. So absolutely no excuse to be like, oh, I'm slow, oh, I'm blah blah blah. I think this was an easy trade. And to follow up on that, I think this will. I shorted. I sent you my entry, but basically the pico top very close to the top. And I don't know, the short side still caught. I did not close the
Yeah.
bottom, but it's still a 20% move down. So
Yeah, I think that's like very tough on this type of trading is like when you want because obviously most of these trades fade. Like even in TradFi, a lot of these like initial very illiquid leg ups are going to fade. But yeah, I think, and this is to be fair something that I never really did. I never really traded the news. I never really traded it like this using bots or whatever. So yeah, that's the tough part, like timing those entries because obviously if you would getting too early, I don't know how much percent is moved from the lowest to the upside, but you can get caught pretty badly if you are just early.
but yeah, maybe to kind of elaborate on it. Do you want to go look at the website of Get Trump Memes /. I find it hilarious because there is the top one guy on the leaderboard. There is a leaderboard. Is Justin Sun. And if you put I'm not gonna, but if you put the address, it even shows you like the name and the wallet address. And if you put it in like Arkham or whatever, you'll see it's the exchange HDX cold wallet. It's just it's just Justin Sun.
Yeah, but this is not the first dinner, right? There was already some kind of dinner with the NFT he had.
Yeah, with the Trump cards, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fake China call yesterday was funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think there are, it's I hate to be political overall. I do like one thing about myself that I don't really care about politics that much, and I feel like I'm very centered with a lot of these things. But yeah, man, it's insane. It's like a yeah, like I think the reality show is a pretty good explanation of what's been going on with all of these trade talks. Then obviously you have these tokens, which I'm sure had like insane amount of insider trading. The leaderboard to get to go on a dinner is it's also
I
what's the
mean,
like low
you
what's the
are
lowest?
yeah. I have it here. So right now,
Yeah.
it's time weighted, so it's slightly fucked up. But as of right now, as we speak, it's if you are over 154 Trump coins, you're in. 154
150. Wait,
Trump.
it's like $1,500
Yes,
now.
that's my point.
Should we like
Bro,
buy?
I'm not even kidding. I'm going. I'll see you guys in like you think I'm trolling. We'll talk off stream, but I am accumulating. I am flying to White House.
If you're gonna do it, I will do it with you. I think that's yeah.
Okay,
Like
deal.
220 people is a lot, to be fair, and I think you can get in probably like under 10K or something. I think that's probably going to be pretty doable when does it end? It takes like a month or
May
something.
11th. So on May 11th, I
Oh,
even
that's
have a
like 3 weeks.
yeah,
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 yeah. I think
and bro, let's go. And airplane is like $1,000. I already checked everything. We can fly on 20. I'm you think I'm trolling? I have a plan. I have Skyscanner ready.
and when is the dinner?
The
Like what
dinner is 22nd.
of May?
Yes, so we can fly in on 20th.
God damn it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so you buy Trump coins, you
It's really
hedge
funny
it.
if you think about it. Like you can probably get like you can first of all like you can do it basically kind of a risk-free type of situation. Like you can just hedge it.
Yes.
Like there is obviously a chance you're gonna get blowout. Like you need enough margin, but like considering that you probably only like if you buy like 5 to 10K worth of tokens at this point, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get in. So it's not even like that complicated to just hedge it.
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, I mean, I will not be able to stream. I will be conducting business. Imagine, like, I can see myself getting arrested. I'll be like, "You fucking grifters," and be like, "Fucking never tweet again about altcoins."
Guy who posted BTC dominance for a year is flying to Washington to meet the Trump. That's amazing.
But jokes aside, apart from so cutoff right now, it's everything is public. So there is some fuckeries you could do, but if you want to be sure, look, just buy 20 grand, 20 grand worth of Trump,
Yeah.
and that's it. And you hedge it on perps if you can.
I think funding is probably going to be a little bit.
Dude, it's flat.
That's what I wanted to say. Do people even care about it like at all? I guess not, right? Like
Bro,
if the funding is flat,
There are people
that's
who would pay. I mean, Justin Sun has like 1 million coins there. He's a fucking simp,
yeah, but he's like a
a
yeah, this is
billionaire.
basically yeah. The
I am flying to Justin
aggregated
Sun.
aggregated funding is 0.004. So you can get basically like very risk-free Trump dinner basically if you want.
Yes, correct. I already applied for ESTA because if you're European.
Jesus, I think mine is valid for. I was in the US like a couple months ago, so mine is still valid for like the next year or so.
Dude,
So
Washington is nice. It's East Coast. We can then hit up New York. Look, let's discuss off the stream, but I'm going.
damn, that's so stupid. I'm still kind of skeptical. There's like going to be no dinner. Like something is it's just going to get like was the dinner for the card holders? Did it even happen or?
I don't know, man. When you believe in the fundamentals, you don't ask these questions. That's what altcoin holders taught me.
That's insane. And like, assuming this is going to happen, like you're gonna have to spend less on the tokens than the actual food at the restaurant, like whenever the dinner is going to be held.
But I think they pay like, bro. If I fly, I buy fucking 20 grand worth of Trump. I pay 2 grand on airplane, and they don't even pay for my shit. I mean, what?
Yeah.
But this is not a troll. This is like fucking legit. Like, if it happens, of course. If you look at the terms and services, it says he does not have to show up, which is. Yeah, look, it's here at the bottom. Bro, I've studied it all. Like, I'm not kidding you.
So basically, you are already on the leaderboard.
I might or might not. I will not. I cannot disclose that information. I'm just gonna quickly delete all the tweets about World Liberty Finance. But yeah, look, seriously, to move on from this topic, I think it's been a great coin to day trade. Koreans trade it a lot. Up a bit. It's something I haven't spoken about in a long time. It's one of the top volumes on a bit, and basically the whole premise, so we can finally move on. I apologize for the boring segment. Is, I expect it to basically retrace most of the move eventually.
Yeah.
Just something like weep.
So the other coins, obviously, I think we haven't mentioned is Hype and Fartcoin. This has been kind of a very much consistently strong. Especially Fartcoin. I like both of them. Yeah, still more kind of upside. I still wouldn't buy it here. I know that I said it. I'm pretty sure I said the same thing last week, and it's up another 30%, which is decent amount. Obviously, I think Bitcoin was up not 30% from the same timestamp, but from the low. So, but yeah, these I think are still kind of consistently looking pretty good. I think the best scenario here overall for the market, in my opinion, is obviously is that that kind of range low is just going to hold, and that would I probably like, even if basically Bitcoin is going to pull back towards 85k 80k range, it's going to hold there. Altcoins are going to have a little bit of a pullback, but like Solana, for example, if you look at the weekly, we basically had a kind of a range low at the $120-ish, and we are basically back into the range. So you will get back into this like a more of a rotational environment on these like bigger caps. I think I know that people love to trade, Hype, Fartcoin, all these things. I generally don't really do trade these because I don't
You prefer Ethereum.
Yes, that's exactly right. No, but I just do not have that much edge in these like a small or newer coins. I think is a better name to call it, because obviously they do not have much history. I think Fartcoin still isn't listed on Binance Spot for whatever reason, which is one of the
competitors, huh?
Yeah, like main places I look for a flow. So yeah, I am, but yeah, these are still looking pretty good. And they will probably continue to gain. I think Fartcoin is super funny. It got this like a boomer, angry Wojak meme type of situation. Like every time it just rallies, you see all these like a boomer outlets basically posting about it, which I think is pretty cool. Like overall, it's just like if you have a coin which once again doesn't really have anything, but it's just I think I just see it basically as a meme coin proxy at the moment. We kind of moved from the animal coins to so there's always going to be probably like this one of a meme coin flavor, and why not
people gonna be always farting, huh?
Yeah, I guess so yeah,
I've seen a very funny post basically saying, oh, you farted but you don't hold fart coin. I was like, okay. Valid thesis.
Yeah so yeah, that's I think probably all I gotta say for this week. I think market is looking good. I think it's was a surprise to a lot of people. It was surely a surprise to me as well that crypto basically held quite well during one of the probably the biggest kind of a macro events in the last 5 years. I'm very happy that I wasn't much of a stubborn retard this time, and I just traded what I saw. So I had a good trades. Runner had a good trades, but yeah, right now it's probably just feels like a little too greedy to just getting a big longs.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
especially it being a Friday afternoon now, at least where we
yeah,
are, it feels a bit aggressive to chase.
and it's fun. And like I was, for example, like although this week it's actually kind of true because but we rallied from like a weekend open. Like one thing which also didn't happen at all was I was really expecting when we had this kind of a all relative strength to Bitcoin do well over the weekends because like obviously TradFi is closed and all of that. But yeah, it's truly just and that's probably a clean signal of like a ETF flows being and Sailor, basically the thing that you mentioned, the fact that like Bitcoin had the biggest move basically after market was actually open, like TradFi, it's probably the signal that this is really led by that type of buying at the moment.
The usual suspects, but it's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But basically, if I remember earlier this year and late in the last year is basically when I want to be long is or when is the worst time, to short it would be Monday. Worst time to long is Friday night, because of again just
Yeah.
when. But this weekend will be very telling for me if my I guess thesis, if you will, is correct. But yeah, I mean, don't see a good reason to short. Michael Saylor has still a lot of money left for
Yeah,
buying.
and even the the thing that the company you mentioned, buying BTC now and all of these things, like people obviously kind of mock it at first. I saw some like even with GME and all of that, but at the, basically it's I think that's probably like the closest to like a big bullish catalyst at the moment, just like big institutional buying from basically everyone. So yeah,
Well, it
I don't
doesn't even
know.
have to be everyone, but just anybody, right? Like,
Yeah, and I do to be quite fair, like I would actually prefer Bitcoin had this like a wide range of institutionals buying in with like a larger size, so it's not going to be only Sailor who's just is insane. So yeah,
yeah. So I guess watch list for now, or like good coins, Bitcoin, Solana, Hype, FART. So nothing changed there.
yeah. So is definitely interesting as well.
And
I
so
think
yeah.
that's up so much. It's how much is it up? It's up like it's up 120% from the lows, and it's a still very very high market cap liquid coin. So I am definitely I don't think like probably I'm going to get like any much of a reasonable entry, but I like to keep these things in a watch list to see.
Yeah, maybe a few
Okay.
more, few last question if somebody has, and we're gonna
Yep.
call it a. I mean, it's been a good week. I hope everybody has a good reason to be net happy. Um,
Yeah, my portfolio is now only down 92% instead of 98, so it's all good.
do you hold Cerebro or what?
That pumped a lot, right?
Yeah, what is
Yeah.
it? It's interesting because basically you have these. I do spend a lot of time looking at this. You have the top gainers and top losers, and basically the coins from top gainer list next day are top losers, and vice versa. It's just non-stop
Yeah.
altism.
I think yeah, like a lot of these coins, like this, for example, the Cerebro, it's like it's almost like you need to hold it, and you are kind of hoping to hold it from like a reasonable price. So like this pump is basically going to kind of save you or whatever. But it's like very, I don't know, like at least for me, I haven't found a way, but like there is like no way to like obviously when this pumps, like I saw so many people just posting like
Yeah,
I emojis when this thing was up 300%, but like I saw no one talking about it,
on the way
like the
down.
day, yeah, like on the way down and day before. So, and this is just a very much a kind of a liquidity games. These things are super thin. It doesn't take that much money to just kind of completely move it. And once you get this initial push, you usually get a bunch of algos, trading momentum, so it's going to get that like a, additional move to the upside into very thin books. But like what you wanted to be doing here, like it's you just probably want to be waiting for like a meaningful retrace. But yeah, it's really not much of a thing that I pay attention to. So
Yeah, I would
you
much
can,
rather look at Sui than Cerebro. Is basically the whole takeaway here, I think, from us too.
yeah, cool. So if you guys do not have someone on YouTube is saying that you need to pass a background check, which I doubt both of you would pass. Yeah,
No,
it's okay.
It's what does a background check mean?
You need to show your
Twitter account.
your Twitter accounts and all of your tweets from like the last 2 months, which is like 100,000 tweets in your rate. So
I mean background check. Yeah, I mean look,
I think
fuck this guy. Why is he? No. Look, I we will pass a background check. No, but it's shit. Like it's the usual. By the way, KYC country. What does it mean? KYC watch list. No,
be from...
we're not from Chechnya, so we're good.
Yeah,
It's a different country.
yeah. I think we are. Yeah, like you probably gonna be from.
We're actually from a fairly
Korea.
especially like us. We should be fine considering where the family of Trump is from. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you kind of got some interesting information. Markets are looking overall pretty good. And thank you, BonkBot, for sponsoring the streams. If you like the streams, you can use the links which I posted. It will help us to keep the streams going. And with all of that being said, we are going to catch you sometimes next week. So yeah, bye.
Have a